Welcome to our discussion of Torah reading and the coronavirus. How are we going to deal with the lack of Torah reading during this crisis where people are shut in their houses, shuls are shuttered, schools are shuttered? How are we going to hear the Kriyas HaTorah? How are we going to fulfill the notion of keeping up with the magnificent Seder HaParshios? This week is Vayakal Pekudei, and then we're going to start Vayikra, God willing. What's going to be with all these Parshios? We're going to miss all of them. What's going to happen? After all, we want to finish the Torah every year. We're going to celebrate on Simchas Torah. What's going on? So, one might suggest that there's some solution through a very simple institution that really is catching on today like wildfire, but still not popular enough. And that is the Gemara in Brachos, Daf Ches Amud Aleph, 8a. Amar Rav Huna bar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Ami, La'olam Yashlim Adav Parsh Yosef Matzibur Shnai Mikra V'Echad Targu. That a person should always try to finish their Parshios, to finish the Parsha with the congregation, twice in reading it and once with translation. Twice with reading it, once with translation. Even some things that don't seem to need translation, they're just names of places, you should read them twice also. If there's no translation, Tosfos says, read it 3 times, because you're supposed to read it twice with translation, but if the translation is the same as the verse, then just read it 3 times. When we say translation, we really mean the official translation, and that is the Onkelos. But they say that Rashi is good enough, that Rashi, since he has so much rabbinic literature in there, his commentary is good enough as well. The Rambam, also in the laws of Tefillah, Perek Yud Gimel, the 13th chapter, at the end, he says, even though you hear the whole Torah from with the congregation, you have to read by yourself. So according to the Rambam, what does that? You have to read by yourself twice in reading it and once in translation. Now, the Rambam is saying there are 2 separate obligations. There's the communal obligation, that's what we hear in shul. It's a private obligation to hear it twice. However, the words in the Talmud itself sound more like imat zibur, that it's together. Your reading at home is sort of combined. They read it in shul, and you're joining them by reading it at home. It's not completely separate. But in any event, that's the way it works. The question then is, how does it work? What do you mean twice? So the Mishnah Berurah mentions one opinion that you read it each verse twice, or maybe you read each parshiya, each section that has its own indentation before the parsha petucha, stuma, before there's a space in the text of the Torah. Read each parshiya, each little section separately. He says either way you do it is fine. What does it mean twice? Does twice? What about the one that you hear from the chazan? That doesn't count as one. So the Mishnah Berurah says, well, you could get away with that, but it's better to read it twice on your own. And could you do it during the Torah reading? So there is some discussion that maybe you could do it during the Torah reading, but many commentators say that's terrible. How could you not be listening to the Torah if you're reading it twice? If you could sneak it in in between the aliyahs, during the Misha Berachs, fine, but you should be listening to the Torah reading. But then, if you look in the footnotes on the Rambam there, Agos Maimonios, from the Ashkenazic footnotes, he mentions the Raavan. So let's take a look at the Raavan. Raavan has an unusual opinion. What does he say? Raavan is Rebbe Eliezer ben Nassan from Magenza, from Mainz in Germany, and he lived in the early days of like right after Rashi, in Germany. What did he say? And by the way, we dedicate today's learning to Chana Bas Avram, to Audrey Roth of blessed memory, just passed away this past week, Diana Lazar's mother, and also to Myra Gold, Rachel Elka Bas Yisrael, who just passed away also. They're also sitting Shiva this week in these difficult and unusual circumstances. Yehi Zichram Baruch, may the memories be a blessing. So the Raavan says as follows. It says, quotes the Gemara. Nearly, it seems to me, you know what it's talking about? It's talking about an individual who lives in a small city. It says krach, it probably means means a small city. And she'ein lo asar likros b'Torah. He doesn't have anyone to read it. He doesn't have a minion to read the Torah. So how's he going to keep up with the congregation? Let him do it twice and once in translation. He says, just like in shul. They read it in shul and then they translate it. He says that's what they used to do. They would read 2 or 3 psukim and then they would translate. So, and he says, because if you interpret the simple meaning that we said until now, that just at home you're supposed to do it twice and once with translation, and in shul you have it another time. He says, wait a second, it should have said you should finish it on Shabbos. What do you mean with the congregation? You're not doing it in shul. With the congregation means even though you're not in the congregation, you should do it in sync with the congregation. And also, why do you need 2? Why twice? You already heard it once in shul. So the Raavan has this interesting idea that the Shnayim Mikra, reading the Parsha twice and once with Rashi, once with translation, once with Unkelos, that's not for a regular person who goes to shul. You go to shul, you heard the Torah reading. The idea is everyone should hear the Torah reading. If you couldn't go to shul, then you should you should do this twice and once, twice reading, once with translation, once with the commentary. You should do that at home to make up for the lack of Torah reading. But if you heard the Torah reading, you don't need it. So I thought that this could be an interesting source for us right now. You say, where's the Torah reading? What happened to the Torah reading? So, firstly, some argue that it's a chovas hatzibur, it's a congregational obligation. There is no congregation, so I have no obligation. The Rav of Rabbi Salvation thought it was a personal obligation. For instance, he used to fly in from Boston, couldn't go to Minyan early in the morning, he was flying, came to YU at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he said, make me a Minyan. I need a Minyan just for me to read the Torah, because he thought it was a personal obligation. A few times I had the privilege to read the Torah for him, and I called him up for Levi to read the Torah, and we made a Minyan for him. He thought it was a personal obligation. Then we're in big trouble. We have a personal obligation to read the Torah. But since there's no minyan anyway, there is no minyan. If there's no congregation, we don't have to read it. And secondly, we could lean on the Raavan. It's true. The Beis Yosef, the Reb Yosef Karo, in his book, the Beis Yosef, he says that nobody agrees with the Raavan. Nidchu devar sham b'hagos. That already the Hagos Maimonios, the commentary on the Rambam, already rejected this comment of the Raavan, but I would like to suggest that under these circumstances we can rely on that. So make sure you do Shnayim Mikra V'Echad Targum every day. Take one aliyah and read it twice. Read the commentary. If you have the Art Scroll commentary, it's also good. If you have the Rashi, that's even better. If you have the Unkelos, that's wonderful. If you want to do the Ramban one year or other commentaries, you do that, and then you're in great shape. This week is easy. There aren't that many Rashis on Vayakal Pekudei. Most of them are hiding in Truma and Tetzaveh. But in any event, if we do that, then we're keeping up with the tzibur. Whatever congregation there is out there, if there's anybody in the world that's still reading the Torah, that's not in lockdown, we're keeping up with them. And the official reading of this week is supposed to be Vayakal Pekudei. We're keeping up because we're reading Shnayim Mikra V'Echad Targum. It's catching on. It's catching on. Their kids, they work on it every single week, and let it catch on even more. Everybody should be doing Shnayim Mikra V'Echad Targum twice. You read the Torah, so you get it down, you almost practically memorize it, and then you read it once with translation, once with a commentary. That's how we do it, and then you're in great shape. There's an interesting question. What about what are we going to do when we get back to it? Let's say these decrees against davening in a shul. Let's say it's over in mid-June. I don't know. Let's say it's over in May. I don't know. Whenever it's over. I hope it's over 2 weeks from now. Whenever it's over. So then are we going to read all those parshios or not? There is an idea that you could read, that sometimes you could do a double parsha. So you could read the previous week's parsha and then that parsha. You split it in half, and the fourth aliyah part from the one parsha and part from the other. Says Rav Hershel Schachter, that would be good for one parsha. But for 3 parshas, you don't read 3 parshas in one Shabbos, unless the congregation agreed to it. Now, if they agreed to it, then he seemed to say that you would add it afterwards. You would read that week's parsha, and then you would roll back and read all the other parshas. You can make many aliyahs, you can make as many aliyahs as you want, or you could just read one straight thing if the congregation agreed to it. Some people may say, that's crazy, I'm not going to stay for 3 hours reading the Torah. But it is possible to do that. He even suggested that if a bar mitzvah boy had a bar mitzvah parsha, let's say his bar mitzvah parsha was Naso, and then we're only able to go back to shul for Parshas Pinchas. So you'd read Pinchas, and then you'd roll back and read Naso as an extra aliyah, or you can make several aliyahs, and then they would do the Haftorah from Naso. Very interesting and novel kind of an approach. You have to see if it falls during the summer. It's a different problem of the seven Shev Nechemta. During the summer, we only read the certain Haftorahs that are instituted for the summer months. But in any event, the Torah reading is an amazing institution. It's a Jewish conspiracy. We're all reading the same parsha in the same week, and we can keep up with it. We can continue to learn. We can learn the parsha. We can watch various videos about the parsha. We can continue this international Jewish conspiracy to learn the parsha, this portion of the week, to know what's going on. Vayakel Pekudei. We'll have drushos Friday. We plan to have a drasha putting out on Zoom and also on YouTube to put out more and more Torah, to read up on all the commentaries you can get online in the books, to learn about it and to stay in touch. So you're mashlim parashiyos matzivos. So you stay in touch with this Jewish international joint effort to finish the whole Torah and to join together every single week. We hope indeed that the Roag Zera, this difficult condition under which we live, should end soon. And when it does, we won't have missed a word, because according to Raavan, we will have kept up Shnayim Mikra V'Chatargum. We're reading it not once but twice with the commentary, and in that way we haven't missed a beat. The Jews have kept these parshas for thousands of years, and God willing, continue to do so for many years to come. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshe Sfar Beth Lemeth congregation. Join us each week for a discussion of the parsha and the holidays. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.